Hey, welcome to New Start Discipleship. So glad you're here today. It's day 13, all right? We're in Acts chapter 26 today, and Paul is standing before a man of authority, an important government official, and he's telling his story. Now, here's what I want to talk to you about today. You'll notice that Paul dives into his story, and he tells what happened to him. Paul, this became like a standard thing he would do. He does in Acts chapter 17. He does it in Acts chapter 26. Whenever he has a chance to tell what Jesus did for him, he does. All right. I want to tell you the power of your story is incredible. What Jesus has done for you. And you say, but I don't know how to do that. Like people ask me about Christianity and my family, and I don't know what to say. I don't know how to, I don't know all this stuff. This book is still new to you. It's like there's a lot to learn. What do I focus on? Do I start talking about theology and Jesus is God and whatever? Okay, listen, here's what you can do. Here's what you do. There's one thing that's very difficult to argue with, and that is your story. Here's what happened to me. So Paul tells that story. And he just takes time to just develop his story and get up there and say, here's what happened to me. Here's what I want to tell you today. When you don't know what to say, tell your story. When you have an opportunity, tell your story. So how do you say, how do I develop my story? Here's what you do, okay? I would encourage you to get a piece of paper or maybe in the back of your notebook or something, just kind of sketch out these three things, right? What was life like before I met Jesus? What happened when I met Jesus? And what is my life like? How has life changed now that I met Jesus? All right. So, what was life like before I met Jesus? Okay. Were you bound by sin? Were you not a good person? Were you addicted to something? Were you living in hopelessness? Did you have what was the feelings like? Okay. So you tell that part of the story. Secondly, you tell what happened when you met Jesus. And I just, I've had people tell me, sometimes it's a dramatic story, it's like, I was, had a car accident, I was laying on my back in bed in the hospital, and you're right. So maybe that kind of story. Maybe it was much more simple than that. I came to the conclusion that my life didn't have any meaning, and I was tired of it. I was sick of not knowing where I was and who I was and why it mattered. And I came to God and said, I need you to give me purpose in life. I need you to give me another chance. I know I've done wrong, and I know I haven't been living my life your way, and I'm sorry. Maybe that's what it is. Whatever your story is, write that out. Okay? What happened? What was life like before? What happened when I met Jesus and became a Christian? And then, what is life like now? How has life changed? Is there new purpose? Is there new joy? Is there meaning? Is there hope? Is there a sense of forgiveness? Is there a sense of belonging? What is that like? What's your experience like? Write those things out. Those are your three parts, okay? Write those things out and spend a little bit of time to develop your story and think about it. Maybe tell it to yourself several times and try to get yourself like a 1-minute version and a 5-minute version. Does that make sense? Right? So you get like your elevator version of your speech and your like more involved sitting across the coffee shop table version. And tell that story, practice telling it so that when somebody asks, you got something to say. All right? When somebody asks, you've got something to say. When you don't know what to say, tell your story. Thanks for watching today. Read Paul's story and then use that as kind of a template to develop your own. I'm excited to see what God does through people, God's Christian people, just telling their story. See you tomorrow.